The rapid demolition of the White House East Wing by the Trump administration to make way for a large, new ballroom stands as a significant and immediate challenge to long-established traditions of presidential stewardship and historical preservation. This action, undertaken swiftly and with limited public consultation, has ignited fierce debate among historians, preservationists, and political figures, including Chelsea Clinton, who criticized the move as erasing American heritage. The controversy centers not merely on an architectural change, but on a fundamental conflict between the personal prerogative of a sitting president and the constitutional status of the White House as a national symbol and a historic monument belonging to the American people. The East Wing, though not part of the original White House structure, holds significant institutional history. Its origins trace back to Theodore Roosevelt's 1902 addition of an East Terrace, formalized in its current two-story structure under Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942. This later renovation served a critical dual purpose, providing necessary offices for the burgeoning wartime staff and concealing a subterranean bunker for presidential protection. Over the decades, it became synonymous with the role of the First Lady, housing her offices, social staff, and serving as the public entrance for visitors. The decision to completely demolish this space rather than renovate it was driven by the current administration's stated desire for a larger venue to host state dinners and major events, a capacity the existing East Room cannot accommodate. President Trump argued that the $300 million project, financed by private donors, was a necessary modernization, continuing the tradition of presidential improvements. However, the opposition's analysis points to the manner and scale of the project as the primary offense. Critics argue that the administration bypassed or minimized mandatory reviews by oversight bodies like the National Capital Planning Commission, NCPC, and the Committee for the Preservation of the White House. This alleged secrecy and disregard for process suggests that the renovation was not a consultative institutional upgrade, but a fulfillment of a purely personal desire for a grand event space. Furthermore, preservation groups like the National Trust voiced deep concern that the sheer size of the proposed 90,000 square foot structure, a ballroom designed to seat up to 900 people, would fundamentally disrupt the architectural balance and scale of the historic White House, effectively overwhelming the main residence. The core reason for the backlash, therefore, is the perceived placement of presidential ego above the collective heritage and the rule of process. The consequences of this action are twofold, encompassing both physical alterations and institutional damage. Architecturally, the demolition represents the most substantial and rapid change to the White House perimeter in modern history, setting a potentially damaging precedent that future presidents could utilize to enact dramatic, unreviewed changes to a national historic landmark. Institutionally, the move highlights a significant loophole. The White House is largely exempt from the standard review processes required by the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 that govern changes to nearly all other federal properties. By pressing ahead without transparent review or sign-off from preservation experts, the administration has weakened the institutional checks and balances designed to safeguard the People's House from the transient tastes of any single occupant. This creates a dangerous framework where historical stewardship is optional rather than obligatory. Looking ahead, the most likely prediction is that the ballroom project will be completed as planned, possibly ahead of schedule, given the rapid pace of the demolition and the private funding stream. The lack of statutory authority for oversight groups to halt the construction means that the structure will almost certainly rise. However, the final product, which some administration insiders reportedly call the President Donald J. Trump Ballroom, will inevitably become a deeply politicized artifact. It will serve as a permanent physical symbol of the tension between presidential power and historical responsibility, forever reminding the public of the opaque process and the demolished predecessor. To mitigate such unilateral actions in the future, several solutions should be explored. In the short term, congressional inquiries must proceed to demand full transparency regarding the project's funding, scope, and the reasons for sidestepping customary consultation. For a long-term systemic solution, Congress should introduce legislation that amends the loophole in the National Historic Preservation Act, establishing an independent, nonpartisan board whose recommendations regarding all major exterior or structural changes to the executive residence would be legally binding, regardless of the sitting president's preferences. This would ensure that future modifications are driven by verifiable institutional necessity, not personal ambition, safeguarding the White House for generations to come.